How far have running shoes come? We're going to hop in our time machine and head back to when tracks were cinder and shoes were shit. And then we're going to test a shoe from every decade since then and see how they've progressed along the way. Today's running shoes are technological marvels. Super foams designed in aerospace laboratories, built around carbon fiber plates and with super lightweight uppers. We're all familiar with the carbon shoe revolution of the last few years since Nike released its Nike Vaporfly in 2017, where they used a Pebax foam, which they called Zoom X, and built it around a carbon fiber plate, and the running shoe industry took a massive leap forward. But running shoes have been big business for many years, and technological leaps have been frequent throughout those years, many times shifting the entire industry's focus to a new brand or a new technology. So I've brought my retro double with me from all the way back in the 60s, and he's going to travel with us through the decades as we look at the best shoes from each of those decades. Say hello, Retro James. Hello. We've also sent back some technology for him, a GPS watch and a heart rate monitor, so that he can track his progress through those different shoes and see how much they're making a difference to his performance. Whoa, this is amazing. Just a watch, James. It's like something out of the future. It is from the future. Oh, geez. In the 1950s, leather spikes were the shoe of choice for serious runners. Roger Bannister wore those when he broke the 4-minute mile back in 1954. I couldn't find any leather spikes, and to be honest, I don't think Retro James would thank me for making him run in them. Off the track, the everyday plimsoll was the shoe of choice for pretty much every day and any activity. Running shoes really didn't exist. In fact, in the 1960 Olympic marathon in Rome, Abebe Bikile won gold and set a new marathon world record of 2 hours, 15 minutes and 16 seconds. And he did it barefoot. The history of that day is a little bit murky, but apparently when Abebe Bikile arrived in Rome, he got a new pair of shoes, which he did a test run in, and they gave him blisters. So he decided to just run the marathon barefoot. We won't be making Retro James demonstrate that either. Oh, thank goodness. In the 1960s, actual running shoes emerged, and some of the most popular were the Tiger Marathon shoe, which developed later in the 60s into the Onitsuka Tiger Limber, the official shoe of the Japanese team to the 1968 Mexico Olympics, and which became the Mexico 66 line. Few shoes have a more fascinating lineage than the classic Onitsuka Tiger Corsair. We'll get to that in a moment, but first, let's see how they run. How do those feel, James? A lot better than barefoot. So, how do 60-year-old running shoes feel to run in? I wouldn't say they're the most comfortable shoes. Lacking a bit of bounce, and I reckon they'd probably give me blisters if I ran much further in them, so you wouldn't run in them for an Ironman marathon then. What's an Ironman? Not been invented yet, has it? The 1970s. A lot happened in the 1970s, and I'm going to pause here to try and give you an accurate history for all the sneaker freaks out there. James, you can go get a soda float or something. The Tiger Corsair was the jogging shoe of the early 70s. Laid like a sponge cake, nothing rivaled the comfort of the cushy sole unit. The brain behind the design was none other than Bill Bowerman, legendary Oregon track coach and jogging guru. Bowerman had a company called Blue Ribbon Sports, which was run by one of his former pupils, Phil Knight. Tiger trainers turned out to be top sellers, and Blue Ribbon was lucky enough to hold the exclusive rights to Onitsuka's innovative running shoes. As a Blue Ribbon technical advisor, Bowerman built a new model out of the best bits of two existing Tiger models. Onitsuka Tiger thought this hybrid creation was a splendid idea and quickly set about putting it into production as the Onitsuka Tiger Cortez. The Cortez was years ahead of the competition. Loaded with shock-absorbent cushioning along the full length of the footbed, the Cortez also had an extra splice in the heel, offering more rebound. You're probably asking how Onitsuka Tiger and Nike became separate companies now. Well, whilst distributing Tiger, Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman had developed their own line of sneakers called Nike. And they'd also been producing their own Nike-branded Cortez, identical to the Onitsuka Tiger version, except with a swoosh instead of tiger stripes. Apparently, Nike's Cortez betrayal was only discovered when an Onitsuka official visited a warehouse in LA and discovered a pair of Nike Cortez hidden in the warehouse in a storeroom. the relationship was over. A court later decreed that both Nike and Onitsuka could sell the Cortez model. Nike retained the name Cortez, where Onitsuka changed theirs to the Tiger Corsair. It is still the only running shoe in history to be a bestseller for two different shoe companies. All right, James, time for you to run in 1970's best running shoe, the Nike Cortez. Nice. Big step up from 10 years before. Not very breathable on the upper, but I don't know, quite like them. The high-tech Silver Shadow was launched in 1981 to conquer the running category. In that year, 23% of London Marathon participants ran in this shoe. It quickly established itself as Britain's top-selling running shoe. There was simply no better training and running shoe out there on the market. Let's see how James enjoys running in these. Here you go, James. Ooh. Actually first released in 1983, the Nike Pegasus became the Nike Air Pegasus and featured compressed air cushioning technology. These took off in the late 80s and made them one of the best-selling shoes of the 90s. Off you go, James. Somewhat ironically, in 1996, Nike made the Air visible in the Nike Air Pegasus, and consumers didn't like that and shied away from the shoe, which led to the entire range being dropped entirely. It was resurrected in 2001 with the Air no longer visible, and it actually continues to this day, with Nike recently releasing the Nike Air Pegasus 40. Better again. I think I might take these ones back to the 60s. I'm actually now going to divert from the best shoes of the decade and give James some of the popular shoes of the decade. New thinking, including an article in the journal Nature by Harvard professor Daniel E. Lieberman, suggested that barefoot running can be comfortable for many people, even on hard surfaces. And in the early 2000s, the running world became preoccupied with this idea. After noticing Stanford athletes training barefoot in 2001, Nike started working on the Nike Free, a shoe designed to recreate the barefoot running feel by reducing shoe weight and employing a sole that made runners feel more connected to the ground. In 2006, Vibram's 5 Fingers was released. They were glove-like shoes with individual compartments for each toe and extremely thin rubber outsole. And minimalism, the idea that less shoe was more, was the new buzzword. This barefoot principle that shoes could work with the foot's movement rather than against it was cemented when Christopher McDougall published the book Born to Run, following his time living with the Tarahumara, a native Mexican tribe of prolific ultra-runners who wore only thin sandals to achieve extraordinary feats of endurance, such as covering hundreds of miles in one run. So, off you go, James. Barefoot running might be good for you. The marathon world record was broken in the 2000s and 2008 by Samuel Wanjiru when he ran a 2:06:32 in the Nike Air Zoom Katana Racer 3. To this day, the barefoot marathon world record is 2 hours 12, set by Shivnath Singh in 1978. But I thought I'd see what the whole barefoot craze was about. Don't tell James, but I never actually tried barefoot running in the 2000s. I managed to sidestep the whole fad. Things do get better. Barefoot running may not have been the ultimate answer to injury prevention, but it did leave a footprint in the running industry. Shoes continue to get lighter, more comfortable, and more responsive. In 2013, Adidas introduced their Boost technology, a new technology designed to be better than EVA and designed in conjunction with a chemical company, BASF. A thermoplastic polyurethane midsole made of thousands of tiny capsules arguably did the trick, It provided amazing cushioning as it absorbed the impact and then rebounded instantly to provide an amazing return of energy. Here you go, James. Adidas incorporated Boost into their fastest shoe at the time, which were very much still racing flats at that point. I actually wore these shoes quite a lot in my career and did many of my Ironmans in them. They were the perfect balance of responsiveness and cushioning for me personally, and for many other people. I really hope Retro James likes them. These are great, light, fast, responsive. I reckon I could run a marathon in these. Yeah, I'm sure you could, really sure. Even in an Ironman. Anyway, shoes are even better now. Ooh, that's exciting. These days, as I said at the beginning, shoe manufacturers have super foams at their disposal, and they've come to the realization that a racing flat really limits the amount of super foam that you can bounce along on. So they've started adding more and more and more, and then a carbon fiber plate to hold it all together. So much so that the powers that be have had to intervene and introduce a competition limit of a stack height of 40 millimeters. I tried to buy the Adidas Pro Evo 1, the shoe worn by current marathon world record holder Tix Asefa when she knocked 2 minutes 11 off the marathon world record. But the bosses told me that the £450 price tag was out of our budget. Wait, £450 for a pair of shoes? That's like multiple years' salaries in the 60s. Crazy, huh? Anyway, I don't have those shoes. I've got these, and they only cost £265. Only? These are the Cloudboom Echo 3s, and they were actually worn by Gustav Iden, or an illegal but not in this race version of these with the 50 millimeter stack height. Were worn by Gustav Iden when he won the Ironman World Championships in Kona. Have a go at these, James, and see if you like them. Nice. These are amazing. I don't want to give them back. I reckon if I took these back to the 60s and maybe did a bit of training, a sub 2:15 marathon might be possible. I could win an Olympic gold. You're going to have to give them back because they're actually my racing shoes. So that means they're mine too. Give them back. I'm keeping them. Actually, you're going to have to give back my watch too, please. I'll keep the watch too. All right, we've sent other James back to the 60s. We did get the watch and shoes back off him, although we let him keep the 80s singlet because that'll turn a few heads in the 60s. Anyway, he ran nearly a mile, 1.4 Ks in each of those shoes, and there's some pretty interesting data. You will be pleased to hear that shoes have actually improved over the decades. He ran a 5:29 in those Tiger Corsairs. He then ran a 5:07 in the Nike Cortez, 5:02 in the High-Tech Silver, 4:54 in the Pegasus, so time coming down the whole time. He then ran in the Barefoot and ran exactly the same time, 4:55, as he ran in the Pegasus, which I was actually surprised by. And then he went back to the Adios Boost by Adidas, and he ran a 4:54 again. However, there's a caveat there because his calf got pretty tight. So his calf got pretty tight. His calf is still pretty tight, actually, after those barefoot shoes. Ironically, I mean, they do say you shouldn't just jump into running really fast in barefoot shoes, and lesson learned. I should probably have just stuck with never having run in them. Anyway, I didn't then do the final episode, the final run in the on shoes because my calf was pretty sore. But pretty conclusive evidence there. My heart rate actually peaked in the 1990s Pegasus, and then it pretty much stayed the same for the rest of them, including the barefoot shoes and the 2010s Adios. So yeah, shoes have got better and better and better. But that's probably not a bombshell that you weren't expecting. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've definitely enjoyed testing out those shoes from all the decades. I was genuinely intrigued about running in some of them. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching and happy running. See you out there.